What's up, everybody? My name is Chris Enriquez. You can follow me at Chris Enriquez Drums. I'm the host of Age of Quarantine. Thank you to St. Vitus for letting me do the show on their Instagram all these months later. We're in the hundreds of episodes, meaning it's like 130 something or 140 something at this point. And to show my thanks to my good friends at St. Vitus, we gave them a back cover of the latest Revolver magazine with the mighty Deftones. So yeah, awesome shit. I work at Revolver magazine. You could follow us at Revolver Mag, and I play in the band Spotlights. You could follow us at Spotlights Music. Enough about me. Oh, before I go into anything else, wanted to let you all know, obviously we experienced a horrible tragedy in our community with Riley Gale of the mighty Power Trip passing away. We are going to be announcing a very special 2-hour episode of Age of Quarantine in the next few weeks. We'll let you know when that's happening, and it's going to be a 2-hour episode with many guests from many bands from all over the world talking about our friend. Yes, that being said, on to more positive things. My old friend who I've known for probably close to 20 years on and off, just like through the music scene. I'm from the Long Island scene. Jani Zubkovs is from the music scene. It took me almost 20 years to ask him how to pronounce his name properly. Shows what kind of a friend I am. I'm really proud of this guy. He's a great bass player. I've seen him make strides throughout his musical career and improve as a musician, starting in local bands to Lux Courageous, to Sainthood Reps, which he's still in, Caspian, which is his main band, which I'm sure we're going to be talking about the most today, and more recently, Constant Elevation, an amazing band, one of the last bands I saw before all this crazy shit went down. Oh, hey, what's up, Lisa? What's up, Justin? L to the row, thanks for the shout out, and hell yeah, man. So we're gonna get things going here, and we're gonna spend the next hour or so talking to my old friend, bass player extraordinaire, Jani Zubkovs. Hopefully I am not butchering that. All right, everybody. We're gonna get him on here in just a second. I think I saw Caspian. There he is. I'm gonna stop playing that music, and we will get... Here's Jani. What's up, Jani? How are you, my friend?
Great. What's going on? Hold on. Let me just make this louder.
Hey, no problem, man. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Awesome, man. I don't know if you heard my little intro, but just went into your history a little bit, how we know each other from the Long Island scene. And, you've been doing some really great shit over the past 20 years that I've known you, and I'm excited to talk to you about it. How are you doing today? I'm
good. I honestly, when I popped on, I thought I'd be blushing after that intro. Might be a little red after this. I feel so flattered.
Hey, it's true, man. I've always been so excited to see that you never stopped. I mean, I never stopped either. So it's cool when you see like your peers and we're still here. Like, it's so crazy how time flies, because I do remember the first time that we met. Which we'll get into, but I'm so proud of you, man, and I'm excited to spend the next hour digging into your whole musical upbringing and all that. But before we get into that, how's the pandemic been treating you? Have you been getting through this whole weird time?
Oh man, you know what? I actually unfortunately have not really been able to make any music. Like I have just zero creative energy. I'm hoping that changes soon, but it's been rough. I kind of like, and I did an interview about this actually, because I feel like when you're following so many other musicians and stuff online, it's so easy to see people and be like, oh, they wrote like 6 albums in this quarantine and I haven't even pick this up, and it can kind of get discouraging. And I guess it's just something, I never want to feel like I'm forced to do it, basically.
Sure. No, of course. I mean,
like so guilted into doing it. Like I want to do it because I don't know, because I like it. It makes me...
Yeah. I think the genres, the niche genres of music that you and I have fallen into, are kind of like, uh, the best way I would put it is like, we're obviously not making music to be famous, right? So it's music that's inspired by something real. So I totally understand what you're saying. Um, how did the pandemic affect? By the way, I just realized all the Caspian fans just tuned in. So you probably, none of those people saw my intro. So welcome everyone from the Caspian Instagram page to this episode of Age of Quarantine on the St. Vitus Bar channel. My name is Chris Enriquez. I'm your host, and obviously you know who this man is. How did the pandemic affect your work schedule in terms of your bands and touring and all that?
Well, so unfortunately, we put out an album this year, which the amount of news that comes out on a daily basis, it's easy to forget that something actually came out this year. Right. But we came out in January. We were able to get a West Coast tour done. And by the time we were gearing up to finish up that tour, we had to cancel. So we canceled a Midwestern leg, an East Coast leg, a European tour, and another China tour.
Jesus Christ, that's unbelievable, especially the China tour. I mean, that's a lot of touring, but
Yeah.
what a big deal to go to China, for your music, and hopefully that will be rescheduled. But yeah, On Circles, congrats on that. That came out in January, as you mentioned, which is a great album, and hopefully once, who knows, man. I know some people are booking tours, especially internationally, in 2021 already. But it's all up in the air. I've seen some shows that have happened online internationally, so fingers crossed. I think it's really here where we're kind of at a complete standstill, but we have no clue when we can ever fucking get back to this shit again. So, yeah.
We have one festival, this festival Arctangent, which you've played before, right?
I don't. I might have.
Remember, it's in the UK, on a farm, and it's always raining, and it's like a foot of mud there. But that whole lineup got switched to August of 2021. So that would be theoretically that would be the first thing we play if we are going to be playing anything. So
I sure hope that you do, and I see there are fans sort of commenting and hoping that you'll come back to their city. By the way, anybody watching, if you do have any questions, there is a question mark box at the bottom of the screen that I'll do my best to get to at some point. And if you're leaving questions in the comments, I'll do my best to get to them, but it's a little tough. So you try to use that question mark box, and I'll check it out in a sec. Yeah, we Spotlight's booked a tour for October of next year. So I'm just like, I mean, we're talking about a year from now. So who knows? I hope both of our bands are on tour again.
It's great. Almost, I'm like, am I going to know what I'm doing still?
Right.
I haven't even rehearsed with anyone, I haven't played with any other musicians since January.
Yeah, neither have I since February. Yeah. It's pretty wild to think about when it's such a steady thing in our lives. Well, so, we're, like I said, we've known each other for a while, and not to age us, but, there's probably about 15, 20 years of music life that we could talk about, right? And so that's what we're going to do here. And I encourage you to elaborate. There's no such thing as a long story on this. So I want you to elaborate as much as possible. You and I are both from Long Island. What town are you from, for everybody watching that may not know?
I'm from Melville.
You're from Melville, right? Which is like...
that's like the one place people know on Long Island, because there's the Paramount is there, and it's like the cultural destination, I guess, of Long Island.
Yeah, that's true. And where you're from in Huntington is also kind of, as you just mentioned, the Paramount, which is a big venue that any national touring band that can bring a couple thousand people to Long Island, they're going to play there. But historically, it's also been a place where artists can go to, because I think even like 15, 20 years ago, the Roxy was there. And for anyone watching, Long Island does get a bit overshadowed, but many people probably know the scene from bands like Taking Back Sunday, Brand New, Movie Life, that sort of thing. But even before that, you know, we had venues where Yanni's from. I remember seeing Korn at the Roxy. So, you know, even bands like that would go there. But how do you feel living in Melville, Long Island, shaped you as a music fan? Let's start with being a music fan before learning to play an instrument, just music entering your life.
Yeah. So we always had, I mean, the first band concert tour show thing that I ever went to was at Old First Church in Huntington Village, which they had punk shows probably once a month. And yeah, I think I was 13 or 14 and I caught Step Lively.
Oh, the ska band.
Yeah, the ska band. The first show I ever went to. So once I got that taste, you know, they had regular shows. There was a ton of bands from Huntington that were amazing. Like, you know, five days late now, Iron Cheek and Latterman and
right. Reviver, yeah,
and Reviver. You know, I would go to see like it was 1997, so I was going to see like Edmonds Goldfish and, you know, ska bands like that.
I mean, let's let everyone know ska was very popular in the 90s in Long Island. It was.
Oh my God, it was. It was the greatest.
Yeah, man. And at that point, were you playing an instrument yet, or how did that happen?
Yeah, so I around that same time, I had a really good friend who, you know, I met at a very, very young age, and from a very, very young age, he was an incredible guitar player. Amazing, and he still tours all over the world, and you know.
Are we talking about Mike Campbell?
Mike Campbell is incredible, but this dude Ryan Siegel.
Okay.
So Ryan Siegel was like, hey, we don't have any friends that play bass. Why don't you play bass and then you can play in our band? We're starting at 13. So I went to the local Sam Ash, bought the cheapest thing because that's all I could afford. It was like a Mexican Squire P bass.
I was gonna say, obviously.
Like probably, I don't know, maybe $75 or something, which I probably had to save up like a bunch of lawns or whatever. And yeah, so I got the bass, and then that's how I started playing. And we would do like we actually wrote the name of the band was Skankin' 101.
Wow, I didn't even know this.
Yeah. Yeah. I have the demo. I got the 98 demo. It's pretty bad, but we would do some covers and do like you know, like Mighty Mighty Bosstones songs and stuff like that.
Hey man, I Mighty Mighty Bosstones were great. I remember that was one of the first bands I saw. So yeah, if there's any Caspian fans out there that have a love for ska, you could get your hands on this demo from back in '97. So
I'm gonna throw it on Discogs for a couple $100 to see what happens.
Well, you know, I mean, bass playing and reggae or dub or ska music is always pretty busy. Were you self-taught, or did you take lessons?
I didn't take any lessons. I think what ended up happening was just like each new genre, like I kind of discovered and got into, I would kind of try to like figure out how those bass players played. So like, obviously started with ska. I was never good enough to do, you know, I was listening to a lot of Rancid and stuff, but I was like, how this guy is doing this. Probably couldn't play like that, but yeah, so like that, and then like, you know, growing up and discovering like the Get Up Kids and stuff like that, I would just try to play along with Get Up Kids songs, and that kind of ultimately is what made me figure out what I was doing. So like at like 15, I got something to write home about, and I was just completely obsessed.
It's a classic record. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, my first tattoo when I was like 18 and 1 day is a Something to Write Home About tattoo.
That's awesome, and I'm sure also that's helping you learn about song structure too,
Mm-hmm.
verse, chorus, verse, etc. You know, because that band was very pop song structure oriented, and so then so you were in the ska scene and getting into Get Up Kids, and I remember you were playing sort of like pop punk and emo bands
Mm-hmm.
at some point. Let's talk about how Lux Courageous kind of became a thing. And if you feel like talking about your sort of transition through the Long Island scene up until that point, feel free. But you know, Lux Courageous was a band that you were in on Triple Crown Records that was kind of not far off from a Get Up Kids kind of thing.
It was like Get Up Kids worship music.
Yeah, yeah.
Like very, very diet Get Up Kids. But yeah, the guys and I met probably at a Get Up Kids show or something else like that. It was actually when the first or second Dashboard Confessionals record came out.
Okay.
Adam Laporto, who I think you also know.
Yep. Yeah,
maybe.
I knew all the guys in your band. Yeah.
So Adam and PJ, they were doing Lux Courageous just as a two-piece. They were both playing acoustic guitar. And then, yeah, they wanted to round it out with a band.
Right.
So, you know, we had me and Chris Valentino, his older brother played in A Love for Enemies and a bunch of other hardcore bands on Long Island.
Right. Yeah.
And then we added Justin Williams, who is legend, and I saw that he's on here. So what's up, Justin? And who then played in Grazer.
Grazer, yep.
So it's a you know, Long Island music scene is a very complicated web. It's like you could kind of map it out and.
Oh, it's totally incestuous.
Yeah.
Between me and you, you know, like you're playing with Vinny for Movie Life. I've played in bands with guys from Take Back Sunday. It's all very incestuous. So this band, Lux Courageous, you joined the band. That's originally two dudes, and it's kind of like a Get Up Kids light kind of thing. Kind of sounded like Dashboard a little bit. You end up on this label, Triple Crown, that's pretty well known. Brand New was on Triple Crown. It was a pretty big deal. How did all that sort of come together? Because this is, I'm guessing, this is your first time in like a professional type situation.
Yeah, so we had actually it's kind of a classic story because, you know, signed to Triple Crown and our drummer was not even 18 yet. So his parents had to sign the record contract for it. But we had this dude, Alex Brzan, who was he was our manager, and he was such a hustler. Like, I mean, just the hardest working dude. And he would do it. He was like sending out our like press kits and like setting up meetings and stuff. And we started gaining a pretty good following. We were playing the Downtown a lot, RIP.
A big venue back then.
Yeah. So Downtown was like, I don't know, maybe like a 350 cap room.
Yeah, you could see Glassjaw or From Autumn to Ashes. You could see Every Time I Die, the Bronx. You'd see these types of bands there.
Yeah. Time I Die on their first tour there, like their first tour. So yeah, we were doing really well. We you know, we would do 250, 300 people at the Downtown, which for us was amazing.
Right.
And yeah, so we signed a record deal with them. And another classic story, went and recorded it down in Maryland with Matt Squire, who was working at what is Brian McTurnan's studio?
Salad Days?
I guess his section is called Salad Days. I think the building is different, but McTurnan had the front room, Matt Squire had the back room. Got it.
Yeah.
We went down there for like 3 or 4 weeks, recorded this record, and then obviously we broke up like 2 weeks after it came out. And that
classic. Yeah.
Because we were so young. We weren't even 20. Maybe I was 21 when we broke up. It was like we were really young. And you know, at that age, you don't know how to deal with complex social situations, like being stuck with a bunch of people.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Actually, I quit in the middle of a tour, and then we had to drive home from Chicago. It was like, it was crazy.
Yeah, there was I mean, I definitely know what that's like. I mean, I think that I cannot speak for other areas, but I think where we're from, there was a lot of talent and a lot of great stuff and a lot of stuff bubbling, but there's this curse of like, like you just said, like I don't think any of us knew how to deal with complex social situations. And I also felt like there was always a little ego and competition, and it was just such a strange thing to think about now, but that's just how it is when you're a kid,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm sure I quit over something that I wouldn't even blink an eye at it now.
Right. Right.
I've been on just as shitty tours since then, like really bad tours, and I survived them all, and it was fine. And like I didn't need to quit any bands over it, but.
And you did some pretty big things with that band, though, right? You played some pretty big shows, or am I wrong?
Actually we opened for Dashboard a bunch of times.
Okay.
We we never got like a good big tour though. We toured with not Blacktop Kids, Blackpool Lights, which was like the Get Up Kids like side project, and we would get cool slots, but
Did you tour with like Sleeping with Sirens or something like that?
we Receiving End of Sirens.
Oh, it was a totally different band. Man,
Yeah.
there's so many bands with similar names.
Okay. Also, I think ended up being a Triple Crown band. Also,
yeah. So that band breaks up. I think that you and I lost touch for a while. The next thing I knew about, speaking of Incestuous, is a band that I ended up playing drums at for the first show, and then you came into the picture, which was Sainthood Reps, and that's Derek Sherman, who was sort of an auxiliary guy for, again, very Incestuous, for Brand New, and a very underrated talent, Chesko, the front man of Sainthood Reps, super talented guy. So is that the next band that you were in?
Yeah. So basically, what happened was I quit Lux, and then I moved to Brooklyn. Like I don't know, maybe 2 months later. And I lived there for it was about like 2 or so years in, and I actually I went back to school. So I was going to FIT, studying photography at FIT. Yeah, I think it was Brad who hit me up about the Sainthood thing. Somehow Brad got in touch with Derek and Chesko, and they had sort of formed a band, recorded in a couple songs. You played a show, right, with them?
I played their first show at what eventually became Amityville Music Hall. I think it had a different name at the time.
Yeah.
And I loved those demos. They're probably the same demos that you heard. I obviously wouldn't have played if I didn't like it. I just was really taken back. I thought this kid was really talented.
Yeah.
I was not in a place to be in a band at the time. Really good shit.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was kind of knocked out by it also. So they approached me about it, and it was funny because Derek was actually, I had a bunch of phone conversations with Derek. I'd never met him before. Lots of mutual friends. He also played in this band, The Reunion Show, which was
they got pretty popular for a bit.
Yeah. And I think they had like, songs on like Teen Mom and stuff like that. Like those.
Yeah. Maybe they were on Victory. I can't remember, but yeah.
On Victory, yeah.
They were on Victory, yeah.
Yeah. So, we were speaking a bunch, but he was on tour with Brand New.
Mm-hmm.
They had arranged for us to go on tour. And I believe the first tour, man, what was the shit? I should have done a little more research on my own band. Was this band All the Day Holiday, I think.
Okay.
And then like this, I think it was the second tour was us opening for Caspian.
No shit.
Which is how I met the Caspian guys. Because
That's so funny. I had no idea that was a connection there at all.
yeah, so basically, actually, let's go back real quick. So I had never met Derek before, and the first day that I met him was the day we left for tour. So they like booked,
Wow.
yeah, they like booked this tour, and they're like, oh yeah, we're just gonna do this tour. Like we have these couple songs, and like I think part of the idea was like, you know, Derek's playing in Brand New, so like let's see if we can build some momentum just based on that.
Right.
So yeah, so he so we show up and I'm like, hey dude, and then like we had to play a show.
Yeah, right. That's so bizarre.
Yeah, and it was really bad. We were really bad for like at least a year or two. It was like it was bad. Like the bones were there, but like we couldn't get it together.
Yeah, right. And this is, you said this show was opening for Caspian?
Yeah, so we show up the first show, and I wasn't that familiar with Caspian, but like at the time, Sainthood was doing, it was like half of the songs were instrumental, half of the songs had vocals. So we got hooked up with Caspian. This is like 2010, I think 2009 or 2010. So we show up in like, I think it was Ithaca, and you know, meet the guys. Everyone's super cool. They're like, oh, like it was supposed to be a co-headline, right? So they're like, oh yeah, like do you guys want to headline tonight, or you want to headline tomorrow night? And we're like, oh, why don't you guys headline? Like, you know, we're still trying to figure things out.
Oh, so Caspian wasn't that big yet.
No, not like there was a Boston show, but that was really good. But like we played in Ithaca, maybe it was less than 50 people, like 35 people or so.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah, so the first show we're like, oh yeah, we'll headline. That's fine. Like let's do it. So Caspian gets on stage, and like first song, it's just like it's insane. Like, they were always incredible. They were never bad.
Right.
The four of us are standing there, and we're like, I mean, fuck. Like,
yeah, like this is gonna suck.
Like, we're terrible. How are we gonna play after?
Right.
So they get off stage. We're like helping him move some stuff, and we're like, yo, we can't play after you again. Like, not doing it. Sorry.
Right. Oh man.
About it, and you know, we stayed really good friends, and we would every time we played up in Boston, those guys would come out, and we stayed at Phil's house, the guitar player for Caspian. We would and yeah, it built like a really, really strong friendship, which is how I got into
up in the band. Yeah. That's cool. I did not know that. So, but Sainthood Reps is still a band that you're in, though.
Sainthood, yes. I actually quit at a certain point.
Okay.
Because nothing that I really want to get into, but like
sure.
we weren't getting along that well. I was not that crazy about like things that were like the songs that we were writing or anything. So I ended up quitting before the second. I recorded on the second record. I ended up quitting, and then you know, they did like 2 or 3 more tours, and then that was kind of it for a while. And then we reconnected a couple years later, and we're like, you know, let's fuck around. Let's write some music, play a show or whatever, and just for fun. And now every time we do it, it's fun because we weren't like trying to make it, or like, you know.
It's always better that way, but it's so hard to realize that when you're younger. You appreciate it more as you get older.
Yeah, and you know, I wish like if I could take back any time, it'd be like sitting around bitching about like not being big enough, or like, you know, this isn't going to make us famous, or now I don't have to think about that at all because I play in an instrumental band. But
yeah, I stopped thinking about that a long time ago too.
Yeah.
And the greatest thing is that we're both doing what we like still.
Yeah.
And it's not to 5 people, which would be fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But you know, you're not like texting your friends being like, "Hey man, like, can you make it out? We go on at 9 o'clock."
Yeah, no. I'm happy to say I'm like kind of retired from that.
Right, right, yeah.
Like,
um,
that's amazing. If not, also super cool. Still gonna play a cool show for the most part, either way. So
and it's cool when you're in a band that people want to see, right? Yeah, like they actually like it, they want to come out and see you play.
it's funny because the amount of times that people have been like, "Wow, you're so lucky. You get to do this, you get to do that." And I'm like, it's not luck.
Yeah,
Like, I played shows to 0 people for years. Like,
yeah,
you know, Sainthood would go on tour and you're in like North Carolina on a Tuesday night,
yeah.
and the only other person there is the bartender and the promoter. And like, we would do tours like that. Like, the whole tours like that.
Oh God, tell me about it. That sounds like the my old band, On the Might of Princes and Contra. We did an entire U.S. tour like that. I don't know what we were thinking, but that was just, well, you're stuck. You're like, oh, I'm here now. What am I supposed to do? Guess you want to play to the bartender, you know?
Crazy. And it's crazy too, because like, probably when you guys went On the Might and Contra, like, there'd be a couple hundred people there at the show on Long Island.
Sure, sure.
This is a different time. Like, you know, yeah, was that even during MySpace?
This is 21 years ago. It's
Yeah,
like, yeah, 1999, maybe.
someone would have to know the bands to go.
Yeah, no one knew. There was no cell phones and no MySpace.
Yeah, it's not like you like can target ads for like people that are Googling like Seisha or something and
Yeah,
be like,
yeah, for fans of Seisha and Kill Your Idols, you know.
uh,
That's really funny. So how does Caspian happen? How do you end up in the band?
so basically what happened was, so I was out of reps probably, I don't, it wasn't actually that long. It was probably about a year. And Phil and I, we spoke a lot. We would, you know, have, you know, every couple of weeks have like a 2-hour phone conversation, shoot the shit, catch up. And what happened was their original bass player hadn't toured in a few years. So they always had a touring bass player. So their touring bass player decided he didn't want to go on tour anymore. So I was asked if I would be interested in being the touring bass player. So they sent me a couple songs to learn. And I went up to Beverly and jammed with them. It was not, I mean, it was fine, but I still had a lot to learn about that band and the genre and playing music like that. And we ultimately decided we were going to do it. So I was up there rehearsing for what would be my first couple shows or tour. And while I was up there, the original bass player passed away.
Oh, geez. All right. I think I actually knew about this. That's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. So the original bass player passed away while I was up there rehearsing for the tour.
God damn.
And basically what ended up being my first show was this benefit show that he had set up.
Wow.
So my first show was like after 2 rehearsals, and
wow.
it was heavy. It was
Real heavy. Yeah.
Friends, family, fans, and kind of at that point they were like, "Do you want to be the guy?" And I was like, "Let's do this."
Yeah,
So,
right. And then it makes it that much more meaningful to kind of step into a role where you want to sort of like honor somebody else that is no longer there, I'm sure too.
yeah, and
Yeah.
a big part of what I do is learning the way he thought about writing bass parts and the way he played bass parts, and then somehow incorporating my own thing into it. So like even when like On Circles came out, at this point I've been in the band, I guess it's 7 or 8 years.
So crazy, man. Yeah, that's a long time now.
Yeah, and but even now, like there's songs that I'm writing, and I'm like, what would Chris do? Like, what is like a part that he might think of?
Right.
Um, so yeah, it's something that I always think about.
I like that too because I feel like there's probably a bunch of bands like that where for example, like a band like Tool, they had two different bass players, and it's like you're not going to go in and completely change something that already has a sound, right?
Yeah.
But you can kind of expand on it and make it your own. So it's cool that you try to, honor him in that way. 7 or 8 years now. What was your first record? What was your first recording with Caspian?
Justin Disquiet.
Okay, cool. I'm just looking. If you see me looking off, I have questions and like the wiki in front of me, so I'm just kind of referencing stuff. So Dustin Squat in 2015. So you've been on two records so far. Oh, you've been on two full lengths and an EP. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, cool. I'm glad I got that right. What was the experience? Well, first of all, what is the creative process like for Caspian? Because Caspian is a pretty experimental band, and stuff like that. I don't know. It's hard to kind of like figure out like, is it one guy writing everything? Like, is it jamming? How does it all come together?
It's involved enough that I had to move up to Massachusetts to do work on the record. So I actually was living in Brooklyn, and I was like, fuck it, I'll move up to Massachusetts I lived there for almost a year. And in that time period, we wrote and recorded the record. So it was pretty grueling. It was like, we would play 4 to 5 days a week, every single week for maybe, I think it was about 6-7 months ish.
Wow, really? And when you're doing that, and are you jamming on ideas that one guy has? That's kind of what I'm trying to get at. Or is it like, how does it happen?
A lot of it's there's certain songs that members will have. They have the vision for the song, and then there's other things where people are like, I have this one little riff, I don't know where it should go, or
got it.
Well, I have this idea, but like I don't have anything else to go with it. And it's really just kind of workshopping that stuff, and then we would record everything that we worked on for the day, have the next day to listen to it, and then go back in and be like, all right, let's move in this direction, or like let's tackle this part. And
you're recording your rehearsals or demoing stuff, and then yeah, that's the best way, right? Because you can kind of like, you can't really tell unless it's like the car test. You put it on in the car, you can't really tell unless you listen to it.
Yeah, no, and I mean, being able to sleep on it, we would wake up some days and we're like, well, that was fucking terrible. Like, we're not. I'm glad we were able to like listen to this and realize that it would be a waste of time for us to continue on with it.
Right.
I'm sure we would have chased some pretty weird dragons around and not ended up doing anything with it.
And it's interesting too, because now we're talking about bands like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like, you're coming from more of a pop song structure background, and now here we are in a very non-conventional. So it's like, where does the song start and where does it end? How do we know when it's time to end it? That's the challenge with I guess sort of this more, I don't even know what we want to call it, but
what's crazy is, coming from Sainthood, where it's more or less A B C A, Caspian is like A B C D E F G, maybe play C for like a few measures, and then like
right. There's no rhyme or reason, right?
It could be literally anything. And a lot of writing, like a lot of the writing process is kind of having the ability to be like, to just set things at rest and be like, this is the song. Because you could theoretically keep working on something forever and probably come up with some other really cool ideas, but you kind of have to have the discipline to be like, you know what, this is good.
Right. Yeah, no, it's super fascinating, because it's like a different, it's a different beast entirely. It's almost like the difference between, I'm a drummer, so it's like the difference between like jazz drumming and rock drumming, right? It's like two different languages. You know, you could play any kind of music but fit a pop structure. It could be literally, you could be talking about rock music or hip hop or whatever, and it's still a pop structure. But then when you start getting into the A B C D E F G, no rhyme, no reason, it's just it's a talent. It's a certain talent and a creative skill and a group of people that have to sort of you know, basically have a good chemistry to be able to create something enough to have several albums worth of music. And I guess that's the magic of Caspian, because the funny thing is, like I said, although we have known each other for so long, I didn't know that you were in that band. I had heard of the band, and when I found out you were in the band, I was like, oh shit, that's crazy. I had no idea. 7-8 years. So let's talk about you've obviously done some serious touring. You've done international touring, gone to Asia. What are some like holy shit moments? Because I think Caspian's probably the biggest thing you've ever done. So like, you know, maybe talk about some like highlights since you've been in the band, whether it's the reception of a record or wow, I can't believe I'm in this country. You know, what are some highlights for you?
I think it's always wild every time we go to China, because it's just, it's this place that, I mean, none of my other friends ever were there. I mean, like it just seems like this, it seems like another planet, let alone another country, you know? And the first time, well, it was actually the second time that the band had been there. The first time that I went there, for whatever reason, I guess like post-rock was like hip at the time.
Thank you for saying that. Post-rock, that's the genre that I'm trying to think of. Yeah.
Yes. So post-rock would be like the umbrella term for
right
everything.
Yeah.
That's like remotely experimental or long songs or
sure. Is it delay pedal?
Yeah, exactly. If you have a loop pedal, you're probably in a post-rock band.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, showing up, and actually oddly enough it was in Wuhan, showing on to play, and there being like couple, like 400 or 500 people there, and we're like, are these people here for us? Like, I don't even know where Wuhan is on the map. Like, how do they know about our band?
I was going to ask you that. Like, when you're there, are you just like, wow, there's a lot of post-rock fans here?
Well, the thing about China is that it's hard to tell who actually knows your band and who's just showing up because there's an American band playing.
Got it. Yep.
Like, people will just have a genuine interest and love for music. So like, they might just show up just to see a cool show, which in America, we don't do that anymore. Like,
Europeans do that. Basically people in other countries do that. But for some reason, we're a bunch of dicks and
like a Yelp review of the venue, and then let me listen to the top songs of the bands that are playing. They don't even have Spotify. Like, all right, I'm out.
Right.
Go and like have a night. It's great. It's like super genuine. And there's like a palpable excitement about just going to see music. It's amazing.
I love that. That's great. Yeah, China's got to be a huge.
I wish I still had that. Like, I feel like I get it. Probably is me just getting older too. I'm just like, well,
you know what? We could talk about that in a second, because I actually wanted to bring up a couple shows that you and I had run into each other at, because I feel like we do have still those bands that we get excited about that we still go out and see. But I know what you mean. Like, I had to kind of refresh myself a little bit, and now I'm a little more excited and open-minded than I ever was. But I do miss like going to shows. Like, the first time I ever saw Lifetime, I didn't know that I was going to see Lifetime. I just was going to see a band. I was going to see bands in Long Island, and then they were playing on stage, you know, so that's kind of cool. And it's like innocent times. It's nice to discover stuff once in a while. Like, oh, I'm at St. Vitus. I heard this band's cool. But um, so before we get off Caspian, I mean, we have 15 minutes left. We should talk about Caspian a little more. I want to, and we'll get back to it. We'll jump around, but I do want to talk about Constant Elevation as well, and hardcore a little bit. That's where I was going to go. But so with the band, you were saying, like, in the creative process, does everybody contribute, or is Phil sort of like the main guy? Like, what, like, how would you say it's a collective thing in terms of the contributions?
I would say it's a collective thing. What's cool about Caspian is that every member brings something completely different to the table. So Aaron, our guitar player, is a classic trained guitar player. So anytime there's a classical guitar or any arrangements or anything, he does that. Cal is our the original guitar player that hasn't toured in probably a decade at this point, but is extremely integral to the writing process. He's now kind of taken on the role of auxiliary stuff. So keyboard stuff, anytime there's pedal steel, weird sampling things, that's Cal's world.
Right.
So like everyone has something different to bring to the table. I would say, and if any of my band is watching this, I'm sorry that it's not you, but Cal, I feel like, is like the evil genius. And that, like, you know, he comes up with for me, he comes up with the craziest ideas and like things I would never dream of writing. So
that's awesome. I love that. And I noticed that the only time I did see Caspian at St. Vitus, which was a fantastic show. I think it was sold out. And I found out that you guys were really making some strides when, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you had headlined Music Hall at one point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no shit, Jani's doing pretty well for himself. And then the Vitus thing, I think it was possible because was it 2 days in a row?
Yeah, so we did two nights. One night we played Dust and Disquiet all the way through.
Yeah.
The other night we kind of just did like a grab bag of songs, just kind of career spanning.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was gonna say, because St. Vitus is like a 225 cap room, and Music Hall is more of like maybe 1,000 or less, 800, something like that. So 2 days. A lot of bands will do that 2 days in a row thing at Vitus, so that if it sells out, people can come the next night.
Yeah.
But the concept of like, let's do a record one night and something else the next night is something that a lot of bands do here. The thing I noticed, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, is really cool about Caspian, and kind of what's refreshing for me in my own band is that it doesn't apply to like one scene. I think it's like a palatable thing where when I was at the show, I recognized a few people, but it's also, there's probably just some regular dudes that might have heard the band on Spotify and some college kids. It's like anybody could get into it. Is it fair to say that you feel the band isn't necessarily like aligned with one scene in particular, and it's just like this open thing, you know?
We have, it's pretty amazing. We have people that are, 14 at our shows to like 65, 70.
Right.
I love when like the old rocker dudes come up to us after the show and they're like, I saw Zeppelin in like 77, was just as sick.
Wow.
It's pretty cool. We have a full range. I really think it's music for everyone. I know it's like, it's pretty niche, but like once you get past the idea of it being niche, I feel like anyone can be affected by it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the coolest thing about playing niche music today is like, I don't know about you, I feel like very out of touch. I just watched the VMAs the other night and I enjoyed it actually, but like I was watching it because I wanted to get in touch with like what I might be missing out on, and I think niche music is super cool because I personally think that Spotify and all this stuff has helped because you can sort of discover stuff and get lost in something. You could be at work and then suddenly Caspian comes on some playlist and And this kind of music, I think, you know, you mentioned Zeppelin, like you go see Zeppelin, you know, I wasn't around back then, but like I'm sure it was this like crazy thing where you could kind of trip out on or off drugs and just kind of get lost in shit. And I think yet you can do that at a Caspian show or a slew of bands, not even just Caspian. I mean, you go to St. Vitus and you could see a band like Yob one night. You could see a band like Sleep, and then you could come see Caspian. And these are all bands that maybe the other two have more in common. But my point is, these are all niche bands, and you can still have that same feeling if you're like some dude that grew up on hippie music or fucking metal or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? So that's cool, you know, and it makes it a thing where you could. The music is evergreen. It could be, you could do it for 20 years. It's not like pop music where you're like, oh, it's out of style now, you know?
Yeah. So also since they're hosting, shout out to St. Vitus for always having the most extreme and most eclectic set of bands playing there at all. Wild shit at St. Vitus.
You know the weirdest show last year was Blink 182 played there. I don't know if you knew about that one. That was fucking weird.
Like the most generic band that's played there, though.
Yeah, man. They're like they showed up and played, and then there's like a goth party afterwards. Yeah.
And no one at the party knew who Blink-182 was.
No, they're trying to pretend they never heard of him. We have 10 minutes left, and I wanted to talk about Constant Elevation, but my transition to that is that you know, you did mention that you grew up on ska music, but ultimately the scene that we came from was the Long Island hardcore scene, and I know that you have an appreciation for it because we ran into each other at Incendiary, and we both love that band a lot. And
Best, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's cool when I talk to people like you, and this happened on a few interviews with post-rock-ish bands. Like I was interviewing Johannes from Cult of Luna, and I interviewed Robin from The Ocean. And the one thing that all four of us have in common is that we all love hardcore. And I end up talking on the interviews about hardcore quite a bit with those guys, where I think fans might maybe think that they listen to other post-rock, and it's like, no, man, Gorilla Biscuits and fucking Youth of Today. And now you're in a band with the drummer, Sammy Siegler, who was in Youth of Today and Gorilla Biscuits and all those bands. Talk about what hardcore means to you and why you wanted at such a late... I can relate, by the way, because I just started my first hardcore band and I'm about to be 40, but you're in a hardcore band now, later on.
Total Meltdown, because it's a great EP.
Thank you. And you're in Constant Elevation with Vinny from Movie Life and Sammy Siegler and Mike Ireland, who I know is watching from I'm the Avalanche. So talk about this band and what's going on.
Yeah, so Constant Elevation, it's a sort of funny story because, and I feel like this is the way a lot of people join bands, but like I was randomly out with Vinny one night. We stayed out. It was like we stayed out all like 3 o'clock in the morning. He's like, I have a band that, like, maybe you should join. And they had already recorded the first EP, the first 7-inch, and it was just it was Vinny, Sammy, and then they just got some friends to fill in. Obviously, the friends are other. It was like the guitar player for Strife, and
was it Andrew? Maybe it was Andrew.
I think it was Andrew. I haven't met them yet. I haven't met any of those guys because it was all on the West. Sammy's on the West Coast, so it was all West Coast people. And bass player for Wisdom in Chains.
Wow, really? That's fucking random. Yeah.
That's pretty tight. So yeah, so I listened to the 7-inch, and the bass player is just ripping on it. It's like straight up lead bass, like Rancid style, which is funny because like kind of went full circle there. But it just struck me as something that if I heard it when I was like 17 years old, I would like lose my mind over it. So I was like, of course I have to do this. And it's fun too. It's like, obviously when you're 35 to 45 and starting a hardcore band, it's like pure for fun. It's like
For sure, for sure. But it's also kind of grounding in a way because it's like you said, it's like it's music that we remember that shaped us into who we are today. You know what I mean? So it's like almost paying homage to something that you know, I don't know. That's how I feel about it. Like it's a traditional thing that we came from, and it's like I remember that. I could do that. You know?
yeah, and you know what's cool about Constant Elevation too is like it's just such a throwback to, you know, 90s hardcore and
right. Even 80s. Yeah.
Um, yeah, like we do a side by side cover.
Fucking love that shit. Yeah.
We try to make it fun because it's supposed to be fun. So
yeah, the show that I saw you guys play was super cool because obviously like Caspian's doing bigger things. Movie Life has done bigger things. Sammy has been in fucking everything from Glassjaw to Limp Bizkit. That's true for anybody watching. But here you are. I saw you guys at Max Fish in the Lower East Side. You know, doing a side by side cover, playing on the floor, old school style, and that's fucking rad. I fucking love that.
Which is the last show that's like my last show since COVID. Like I think that was like a show that
right before COVID. That was one of the last shows, if not, yeah, it was like the last week before all the shit went down.
We opened for Gorilla Biscuits, I think the night before, and then did a show in the Lower East Side that night, and that was like, and a bunch of my friends came, and that was everyone's last show. So.
Yeah. So we have 4 minutes, and Instagram's going to kick us off, and we have I want to take this question that someone left here for you to answer, and then let's get into like final you know, shout outs, announcements, anything like that. Hey, Dave Cat, how you doing, man? What's up, Mike Ireland? Okay, so let's see if we could tackle this one. At Vins, I don't know how to say your name, bro. Would you or Caspian be open to teach some of your songs online?
We actually did. I don't know how many questions there are, but we could just do a quick rapid fire sort of thing. But we actually did some lessons where we did like an Instagram live and played through songs, and we actually posted the tabs. So the tabs for guitar there's some tabs on our website that you can go to, and I think you can access the archive lesson as well. So feel free to check that out if anyone plays guitar and wants to learn some Caspian songs. I didn't do any bass ones. Maybe I should. Maybe I'll do one if someone actually asks for it.
Awesome. There you go. And what's your personal social?
It is just my name. So at JaniZubkovs.
All right. You want to do rapid fire? I'll give you one major question, and you have 2 minutes on the clock to do that and make any final announcements or shout outs. But top 5 quarantine albums. You're stuck. You can't leave the house. You have 5 albums. What are they and why? Only 5 albums.
Wow. Okay. Spiritualized, Ladies and Gentlemen, We're Floating in Space.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I got to pick an Oasis record, I guess.
Oh man, I'm obsessed with Oasis.
Yeah, it'd be really hard to pick one. I was listening to a lot of the most recent Noel Gallagher record, but
okay, I've been trying to get into that.
Oh, it's really it takes a little bit, but good. But okay, anyway, Oasis record. I can't pick one, but it'd be an Oasis record.
Okay.
There would probably be an Incendiary record, just so to make it like pretty well rounded. Yeah. Oh, man.
Best product of Long Island hardcore since back in the day. Just saying.
Arguably, I mean, to me, they're the best band in hardcore right now.
Yeah. Looks like your guitar player is watching. What's up, Phil?
Phil.
Okay, you got 2 more, and we're running out of time.
Yeah.
We got 2 more records.
I can't pick.
Oh, you can't pick them. Okay. And by the way, I'll try to give that. I gotta give Noel another chance. I'm a Liam guy. I know that Noel wrote everything, but those Liam Gallagher records are unbelievable, even though I know he didn't fucking write them.
They're amazing.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Any announcements, shout outs, things you want to tell people about? You know, I know you're not writing music right now, but is there anything that people should know about that's coming up? Or
Honestly, I would just say everyone should keep their head up and do things that make them happy, and don't feel like you're, you know, not being productive, or, you know, not being a contributing member to society, because it's really hard right now. And yeah, foster friendships and get in touch with your friends and family and tell them you love them.
absolutely, please do that. And and everybody, please try to be smart in November. And I know we got people from all over the world watching, and I'm not trying to get on the soapbox, but I think it's important to use the platform while we have it to just say, be smart in November, and think about our future, and for everybody, you know, all the younger people. Caspian and Mexico. That's the last question. I know. I think, Jani, you want to go to Mexico, but when can we go to Mexico? Who knows?
Yeah, who knows when that'll happen. We did play in Mexico City once and had an amazing time. So
yeah, everybody, if you missed the first part of this interview, it's going to be on the St. Vitus IGTV, and it'll be on YouTube. You can look up my name on YouTube, Christopher Enriquez. I have almost all the episodes up on there and on the Revolver Magazine YouTube channel. Jani, I love you. Thanks for doing this.
great talking to you. Thanks for having me.
Always, brother. Stay safe, and if you get bored and you want to jam, give me a call. We could fuck around. Well, we could play some Oasis songs.
I would love that.
Well, we should do it like out in the street and make some money, since we can't go on tour.
Yeah, I mean, that might be the first time I make money playing music. So
yeah. Well, we Artie Shepherd, who owns St. Vitus, can sing every Oasis song and play it on guitar. So
there we go.
There we go. Yeah.
Phil from Caspian in here, who knows almost every Zeppelin and Oasis song on guitar. So
fuck yeah, man. We should do an Oasis tribute band one day. We got to figure that out.
I'm definitely down.
Okay. All right, brother.
Nice.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good vacation.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
You too, man. Peace.